Look at yourself. Who do you see? Are you sure the person you're seeing is you? What if I told you that this idea, the idea that you have a stable identity, is not just a biological fact but a decision? A decision you make every single moment. And what if I told you that there are forces in this world working day and night to make you give up on that decision? To make your identity fluid, changing, formless, and therefore without real existence. This might sound like something from a science fiction movie. But the truth is that the simplest law in the universe, the law that says a thing is what it is not just a self-evident statement, but an intellectual battlefield. It is the first and most fundamental law of all logical thought, and it is the dividing line between order and chaos, between reality and illusion, between being a person and being merely an echo. Welcome to Cogitoski. Grab your coffee, and let's begin a new and different journey together. Today, we will not expose tricks to deceive the mind, but we will unveil the first of the laws that govern the mind itself, and how understanding it will forever change the way you see yourself and the world. 1. The collapse. The nightmare of a world without identity ***. Before we explain what the principle of identity is, let's conduct a terrifying thought experiment. Imagine you woke up tomorrow in a world where this principle has been abolished. A world where nothing is itself. You wake up, you look at your hand, and you find it is sometimes a hand, and sometimes a bird's wing. You grab your coffee cup, but halfway to your mouth, it turns into sand. You try to speak to your partner, but the words "I love you" that you spoke yesterday, today mean "I hate you." Not because you changed your mind, but because the words themselves are no longer what they were. In this world, science is impossible. How can a scientist study the nature of water H2O if water can sometimes behave like mercury or acid for no reason? An experiment that works today fails tomorrow under the exact same conditions, because the components of the experiment have no stable identity. All the physical laws we rely on, from gravity to electromagnetism, assume that particles and atoms have a stable identity and properties. Without it, there is no science, only random magic. Law and justice are impossible. How can a judge rule on a defendant accused of murder if the defendant before him is not the same person who committed the crime a week ago? How can there be a contract or a promise if the words it was written with can change their meaning at any moment? The very concept of responsibility collapses, as a person cannot be held accountable for an act that he is no longer the one who committed. Memory and personal identity are impossible. Who are you if your memories, thoughts, and values are not the same from one moment to the next? You would be just a series of random, disconnected impressions, like a television changing channels every fraction of a second. There would be no I to learn, to grow, or to love. This nightmarish world is the world of absolute chaos, the world of meaninglessness. And this is precisely what the principle of identity prevents. It is the law that says to reality, "Hold still." It is the anchor that moors the ship of existence in the midst of an ocean of infinite possibilities. It simply says, A is A. A thing is identical to itself. It has a specific nature that makes it what it is and distinguishes it from everything else. 2. The great challenge. The Ship of Theseus and your changing identity ***. Here, things get more exciting and profound. A skeptical philosopher will come along and say, "Wait, your theory is beautiful, but it's wrong. Nothing stays the same. Look at me, I am not the same person I was 10 years ago. Almost all the cells in my body have changed, my thoughts have changed, my feelings have changed. The river you see today is not the same river you saw yesterday. Its waters have flowed on. Therefore, A is not always A. The principle of identity is just an illusion." This is a powerful and intelligent objection, and it touches upon one of the oldest philosophical puzzles, the paradox of the Ship of Theseus. The legend says that the Greek hero Theseus had a ship, and the Athenians cherished it so much that they would replace every old wooden plank with a new one. Over time, all the original parts of the ship were replaced. The question is this new ship the same as the Ship of Theseus? And what if we took all the old planks and reassembled them? Which of the two ships is the original? This paradox applies perfectly to you. Your cells regenerate, your thoughts change. So are you the same person? The answer lies in understanding that the principle of identity does not deny change. Rather, it is what makes change possible and intelligible. Think about it. In order to say that something has changed, there must be a fundamental something that has persisted through that change. When we say, "My friend, you've changed," we are assuming the existence of a friend, a core identity, that has continued through time, but whose properties, his appearance, his ideas, are what have changed. If there were no continuous identity, there would be no friend to change. Rather, there would be one person disappearing and another, unrelated person appearing. It would be like watching a movie where the main actor is replaced in every scene. You wouldn't say the hero changed. You'd say, this is a different movie. So, what is your continuous identity? It is not just the sum of your cells, but the continuity of your consciousness, your memory, and your self-narrative. You are the same person because you carry the story of your life, your memories, and your plans for the future. This continuity is your core identity, to which the changes happen. The principle of identity does not say that the properties of a thing do not change. It says that the core identity of a thing remains itself as long as it continues to exist. You, as a continuous consciousness with a memory and a history, have a continuous core identity, even if your attributes change. 3. The real battlefield. Identity in the world of politics and ideas ***. Why is all this important? Because the attack on the principle of identity is not just a philosophical exercise. It is a real weapon used in our world today. When a political regime uses a word like freedom in its media, but in reality, it means complete obedience to the regime, it is launching a direct assault on the principle of identity. It is trying to detach the word from its real meaning, to make people believe they are free while they are in fact slaves. It is trying to make A equal not A. This tactic, which George Orwell called doublethink, is a fundamental tool for controlling minds. When you hear an ideology that says, there is no objective truth, everything is just a social construct, this is an advanced attack on the principle of identity. This idea doesn't just say that truth is relative. It says that truth has no stable identity to begin with. Truth can be whatever the most powerful group wants it to be. This means that 2 + 2 can equal 5 if the authorities decide so. This is exactly what Orwell warned against in his novel 1984. It doesn't just abolish truth. It abolishes the very idea that there is such a thing as truth with an identity independent of our desires. When someone in a debate says, "I don't believe in labels. We are all just human," it might sound nice and humanistic, but sometimes it is a subtle attack on the principle of identity. Yes, we are all human, but ignoring specific identities, doctor, engineer, father, mother, makes discussion impossible. To solve a problem in a hospital, you need a doctor with their specific identity and expertise, not just a random human. Clarity requires acknowledging specific identities. Denying specific identities in the name of unity is actually a call for chaos and ambiguity. To commit to the principle of identity is to commit to intellectual integrity, to call things by their real names, to acknowledge that facts have a stable identity that does not change according to our whims or feelings, to reject the idea that words can be elastic and meaningless. For the final decision, do you choose your existence? ***. And here we reach the most dangerous point. The attack on the principle of identity doesn't just come from the outside. It also comes from within. In today's fast-changing world, filled with pressure to be a different person every day, on social media, at work, with friends, there is a great temptation to abandon your stable identity, to become a liquid person with no fixed principles, who shapes themselves according to the situation, to be one thing today and its opposite tomorrow. This might seem like freedom, but it is, in fact, a form of N who is everything is, in reality, nothing. A person with no stable identity has no real existence. They are merely a reaction, an echo of others, a leaf in the wind. To commit to the principle of identity on a personal level means to decide who you are, to define your core values and principles, and to adhere to them even when it's difficult. To have an identity means to have a moral and intellectual backbone. So, the next time you look in the mirror, remember this. Your identity is not a given. It requires a constant defense. A defense against the external chaos that tries to dilute concepts, and a defense against the internal laziness that makes you accept contradictory ideas. A is A. You are you. The truth is the truth. It may seem simple, but it is the dam that prevents the flood of chaos and meaninglessness from engulfing our world. It is not just a law of logic. It is a declaration of your existence.